All right, let's talk about what's happening in the Harford County real estate market right now. Because there's a lot of noise out there. National headlines, interest rate talk, the market's crashing conversations. But real estate is hyper local. And if you really want to understand what's happening, you've got to look at the numbers right here at home. So we're going to break down the first quarter of 2026 compared to the first quarter of 2025. And I'll tell you what actually matters behind the stats. So first thing, let's talk about activity. We saw 247 homes sell in the first quarter of 2026 compared to 223 last year. So it's about an 11% increase in sales activity. That tells us something important. Despite higher rates than a few years ago, buyers are still in the market and people are still moving, life is still happening, and this is not a frozen market. It's an evolving one. So now let's talk about pricing. The average sold price increased to about $413,000, up roughly 3.3% from last year. So yes, prices are still rising. But here's where it gets interesting. The median price actually dipped slightly, down about 1.8% year over year. So what does that mean? It means the market isn't moving in one solid straight line. Different price points are behaving differently. Higher end homes are pushing averages up, while some mid-range activity is leveling itself out. That's what we call a shifting market, not a crashing one. So now let's talk about one of the most important numbers sellers need to hear. Days on market. Days on market increased from 36 days to 41. It's about a 14% increase in the time it takes to sell a home. This is huge, or it could be, because it tells us the frenzy we saw a few years ago has somewhat cooled. Homes are still selling, but they're not all flying off the market instantly, unless they're priced and presented correctly. While some homes are taking 30, 60, 90 plus days to sell, many, and honestly, the majority are selling in the first weekend when pricing matches up with condition. So strategy matters again. Here's another big one. Homes are now selling at about 98.3% of their original list price, slightly down from last year. That may sound like a big shift, but it may be because it means buyers are negotiating again. And again, this is 100% variable that's based on the strategy the seller and their realtor, hopefully Compass Home Group, come up with. Many homes are still selling at list price or even above. It all comes down to that strategy that the seller and the realtor team come up with. We're not seeing blanket over asking offers across the board. We're seeing more balanced conversation. So let's break it down a little more. Detached homes, or single family homes, saw an increase in value of about 5.7% year over year. That's incredibly strong. Meanwhile, attached homes, or townhomes and condos, saw a decrease of about 4.4%. That decrease is being led heavily by the condo over the townhouse market. So we have a split market. Different property types are behaving differently. And if you're a seller, that matters a lot when you're pricing your home. So let's talk about inventory. As of right now, we're sitting on about 420 active listings, up slightly from last year, not a massive increase, but enough to give buyers a few more options. And when buyers have options, they become more selective. They compare, they hesitate, and most of all, they negotiate. This is still a low inventory market though. When we have 247 homes selling and 420 active listings, it's basically 2 months of inventory available for buyers. And here's something really interesting. The pending activity is up. We saw almost a 10% increase in pending sales year over year. That tells us demand is still there and it's strong. The buyers didn't disappear, they just became more thoughtful. So let's talk about homes that are actually selling. The majority of homes are still selling relatively quickly. We saw 91 home sales within the first 1 to 10 days. So that narrative that nothing is selling, the market is crashing, it's just not true. Homes that are priced correctly and show well are still moving. Homes that are overpriced or poorly presented, they're sitting on the market. So let's bring everything together. Because when you look at all of the data as a whole, the story becomes very clear. This is not a bad market. This is finally becoming a normal one. So here's a big takeaway. We've moved from a speed-driven market to a strategy-driven market. So buyers are still buying and sellers are still selling, but the gap between done right and done wrong has gotten much wider. So at Compass Home Group, we've helped clients navigate over $500 million in real estate transactions, with over 80% of our business coming from referrals and past clients. So what we're seeing right now is simple. Homes that are priced right, presented well, maintained correctly, they're still winning. The ones that aren't, they're sitting longer, negotiating harder, and often selling for less. So if you're thinking about buying or selling in Harford County, don't get caught up in national headlines. Look at what's actually happening right here. Because real estate isn't one market, it's thousands of micro markets. And the more local your strategy is, the better your results will be. Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out this video. Please feel free to drop a comment, like, and subscribe to our channel, and let's check out the next video.